Hello everybody and welcome to the Artist First World Radio Network, home of the best new music you've never heard and home of the best new talk shows you need to hear. Please don't forget to visit our archives page at www.artistfirst.com, where you can hear all our past shows for free and on demand. You are tuning into High School Football America. This show airs every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For more information about the show and listen to past shows for free, please visit artistfirst.com/jefffisher.htm. And don't forget to follow Artist First on Twitter. You can find us under the Twitter handle at @artist_first. And now your host of High School Football America, Jeff Fisher.
Thank you very much, Corey, and good evening, high school football fans from across America. It is December the 1st. 3 more weeks to go on the high school football season, and we've got a great show for you this evening as we start talking about the championship games that were last week and some big ones ahead, a big one down in Alabama that we'll talk about a little bit later on. But we're going to have a definite theme tonight to the show as we talk with some former NFLers that have come back to the high school ranks to give back and doing some great things and winning some gold and silver medals. Coming up on the show tonight, we will talk with Don Beebe. You might remember him from his days with the Buffalo Bills and Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers. Don is now a head coach in Illinois, and this past weekend he had quite a story, as not only did his team win a state championship in Class 3A in Illinois, his team is the Aurora Christian school, but Don about 6 months ago didn't even know if the school was going to remain open, and they went from having a very difficult time with some finances to going all the way through, getting those worked out, and then going all the way through and winning a state championship. Also on the show tonight, we will talk with Gus Frerotte, the former Pro Bowler with the Washington Redskins. Last weekend, he led his high school in his first year to a silver medal in Class 3 in Missouri, and we'll talk with Gus about that. Also, on the back end of the show, we're going to talk with Phil Stambaugh, a former backup quarterback with the Jacksonville Jaguars, about his little tiny team in Pennsylvania that I've talked to you about before. I'm doing a documentary on them, the Pius X Royals, and we're going to talk to Coach Phil Stambaugh about what he's been able to do there, where he has a young quarterback, a sophomore, who, before all is said and done, may shatter just about every Pennsylvania passing record that's out there in his first 2 seasons, and he's in the quarterfinals of the state playoffs right now. A.J. Long is actually already thrown for over 6,000 yards, so no telling where his numbers will end up. So a great show tonight as we look forward to talking with some guys. Like I said, they got it done at the pro level, and then they've come back to get back at the high school level. Want to thank our sponsors for tonight's show before we get to our first interviews. Want to thank NCSA Athletic Recruiting. How do you find and get playing at a school that fits your athletic and academic abilities? Well, college is not just a dream when it comes to NCSA Athletic Recruiting. Athletes, you can get noticed with a free scouting report today. Just go to the High School Football America website, highschoolfootballamerica.com, and click on the NCSA logo right there, and you'll be able to find out more about what they're doing and how they are helping thousands of young men and women around the country gain scholarships. Also want to thank one of our sponsors, Blitz Group, the media strategist for us. For more information, please go to their website at blitzgroupllc.com. The High School Rudy Awards, honoring inspirational high school football players who best define the 4 C's: character, courage, contribution, and commitment. Go to highschoolrudyawards.com, and don't forget to keep up with us throughout the show at Twitter and on Facebook. Just go to highschoolfootballamerica.com, click on our icons, and you can follow us. Time to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to head to Illinois and talk with the former Buffalo Bill who just won a gold medal in Illinois at Aurora Christian, Don Beebe, when we come back. This is High School Football America on the Artist First Radio Network.
The hottest technology in the world isn't being developed in Silicon Valley. In the United States Navy, more top-secret technologies are being created than ever before. Incredible machines made of stealth materials that fly by themselves. The only problem with these incredible technologies? It's a shame the enemy can't see them. To learn more, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. Navy, accelerate your life.
Welcome back to High School Football America. Going to look ahead to the big state championship games this weekend, plus a look back at some that won championships last weekend. And the general theme throughout the show tonight is former NFLers doing great things at the high school level. Now we're going to welcome into the show Don Beebe. You'll remember him from the Buffalo Bills and those Super Bowl teams. And on Friday, he won the 3A state championship for Aurora Christian in Illinois, and he's here to talk about that right now. Welcome to the show, Don.
Hey, Jeff. Good to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a wonderful story that if you don't know about it, listeners, could have had a bad ending because before we started getting the interview going here, Don and I were talking about the situation at Aurora Christian, which is outside of Chicago, and I guess you guys were practicing in the summertime, and for a while there, you had an opportunity to think the season was never going to exist because the school was going to close. Could you kind of set the scene for our listeners nationally?
Yeah, it was roughly 10 years ago that the school was given a lot of land. I think it was 30-some acres that was worth $36 million back in like 2005, 4, somewhere in there. And then the bank came to them last year and said, you no longer can use that land as collateral for the building that we were in. The building's worth $20 million, roughly. Well, that kind of put a curveball, obviously, to the administrators at Aurora Christian and what were we going to do and everything like that. But they last minute, before the season started, they got things worked out, and the school's going to be fine, and we will be in Aurora Christian from now on. So it got all worked out, but there was a time in June and July that we were kind of not sure if we were going to have a season.
Well, that's the good news is you did. You came away with a championship, your first one at the school, beating Mount Carmel 34-7 on Friday. So, kind of put it into words, knowing what you had back in the summer and what happened last week. I mean, how much sweeter did it make the victory?
Well, it seemed like it was a year of turmoil and not so much controversy, but turmoil and bad breaks going and not knowing you're going to have a season for one, and then right before our first game, we're playing Stillman Valley, who knocked us out of the quarterfinals last year, and they went on to the state. I think they got beaten. They got second in the state, and so and we had my son Chad Beebe, who's one of our top wideouts, break his collarbone. And then in that game, our other top wide receiver broke his collarbone in the first half.
Wow.
So we started out right away with our two top wideouts out for pretty much the whole regular season. We were able to get them back, and once we got them back and went into the playoffs, then we lost our right guard, who was All-State, 6'3", 291, R.J. Morris, to an ACL. And then the next game in the second round of the playoffs against Oregon in the first series, we lost our All-State linebacker, Mitch Holtz, with an ACL. So we went through a lot of things this year, but it was amazing sometimes when you go through tough times that it really binds kids together and family together, and it really created some great chemistry, and it really got these kids motivated to go on to do what they were able to do.
Wow, that's an incredible story. Now, I know you've done some really great things. You've been there since 2004, I believe, at the school. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the transition from, NFL player into high school head coach.
Well, for me, I knew that this was kind of my passion. I knew when I retired from Green Bay, right after Super Bowl 32, I decided to hang up the cleats, and I knew I wanted to work with kids, and I knew I wanted to be around sports, and I started a company called House of Speed, and House of Speed trains many athletes around the country. We have 13 franchises around the country, and that gave me the opportunity to train kids and be around kids and be a mentor. That was my big goal, and to teach character through sports. But then I wanted to do something at a more intimate level where I'm with kids on a daily basis, and then coaching opportunity came my way at Aurora Christian, and I said, wow, this be kind of fun. And so I just took it as a fun job, a volunteer job, and our whole staff, we got 13 coaches, all of them are volunteer coaches, all of them play to the college level or higher, and we're very fortunate to have a great staff with a great school and great kids. And so the transition from me was really gratifying. I've said this already many a times since the state championship game. What was more fulfilling? What was more rewarding, a Super Bowl ring or a state championship ring? And I tell people, I say, I will say winning the Super Bowl is more of an individual effort. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it was a team effort that won, and I understand all that. But it was me. It was me playing. It was all about me and some to a certain degree. And and it was certainly gratifying in that sense. But when you are coaching kids, innocent kids, 16, 17-year-old kids, and for the school that was about to close and is still open, and the community, to being the first one in Aurora history, man, I tell you what, there's nothing better than that. And no doubt in my mind, what was more gratifying? I still haven't come off cloud nine from Friday night. So, and I think that's always going to be with me. And so for me, to answer the question, the transition was easy and way more fulfilling for myself.
Well, that's the one thing that I've gotten whenever I've spoken to guys that have played at the level you played at and have come back to the kids. I mean, it's still the purest form that there is out there. We're talking to Don Beebe tonight on High School Football America, the former Buffalo Bill. Of course, he also played at the end of his career with the Packers, but more importantly, over the weekend, took Aurora Christian to its first state championship in Illinois, a 3A title. And let's talk about the kids and what it's like. They know what you've done. They've seen the old NFL films with, I don't know if it was John Facenda yet, maybe Harry Callis, but what's it like to have these young men come up to you, and obviously there's got to be some idolizing, but how do you kind of break through that and say, hey guys, we're here for the same goal that was then and this is now?
Well, I'll tell you how you do it. First of all, you got to love them. I mean, you got to get to their level, and right away, I didn't go in there demanding just because I'm an NFL player and won a Super Bowl that I'm better than you. I'm not better than you. I was created on the same level that you were, and yeah, I've been able to do some great things in football, but let's go create great things here, in this high school. I remember my first meeting, Jeff, and it was in '04, and it was in the old building, which is a real dilapidated building. I mean, it was really old building. It was something. Our weight room consisted of a universal weight set in the band room. Okay, that's all you need to know.
Got it.
Yeah, we had no field. So all of our games were road games. Had no weight room. Had nothing. Okay, and I remember sitting there, and I told the AD, all I need is a white eraser board. And I put up there, and I looked at the family, and they were scattered all over the gym. Because you already could tell that they weren't really tight. Okay, It looked like something from the Bad News Bears that just rolled into that gym. I looked at all those kids and their parents and the athletic director, and I said, guys, listen, we only got one goal. I said, does anybody in this room know what that one goal is? And they said, beat 500, beat Walter Lutheran, beat Chicago Christian, win conference. I mean, these are the goals. I said, man, you guys are limiting yourself. We only got one goal, and that's win state. And until you start thinking that way, you're never going to do it. And so I had to change their mindset. And so I was getting to their level, and I would have one-on-one meetings with these kids, and yes, I'm stern, and they know what lines not to cross, but at the same time they know Coach loves them. I'll put my arm around them, tell them they're doing awesome, they're doing great. When you can create that kind of atmosphere, you'll get kids to play a whole lot higher level than they probably talent level is, and so that's what I wanted to do and create with kids, and they don't look at me. Yeah, they know I played, and I really don't talk about my experiences much unless it's due, like a Leon Lett play or something that, never given up. But very rarely do I talk about myself. Sometimes the kids will bring it up, but they know me as coach. They don't know me as NFL player.
I live here in Chicago, so I've been able to follow some of the offensive numbers your program has put up through the years. I've never seen you in person, so for our listeners, obviously with the high numbers you put up, I would assume there is a high octane offense. Is there any of that predicated on your past in the NFL? Were you able to take some of that and adapt it down to the high school level? Yeah,
we actually run the West Coast offense. Well, and we run both versions of it, and what I mean by that is there's the Brett Favre, Mike Holmgren West Coast offense, which was a little bit more of a tight end, two running backs, and then sometimes we trickle in 3 and 4 wideouts too on certain plays. But now the West Coast offense is reverted to the Aaron Rodgers era West Coast offense, which is a lot more 3-4 wideout sets and spread you out and throwing it a little bit more, but still have the diversity of the run and pass. I mean, many people think, we're all about throwing the ball. Yeah, we threw for a lot of yards this year, but we also rushed for about 2,700 yards. And people don't realize that. And that's the beauty of the West Coast offense, is that you have such a great balance. I've been very fortunate to have it's a fraternity now of quarterbacks with Nate Peterson, who I believe is number 4 on the all-time list for most touchdowns in a career. Then it was Jordan Roberts, who's number one on the list of most touchdowns and yardage in all-purpose yards. He owns most all the records in the IHSA history. As a matter of fact, the record was 96 for touchdowns in a career. He has 127. So he really blew the record away. And then Anthony Maddie, our quarterback this year, who I think is now in the top 5. So Aurora Christian, I think, has 3 of the top 5 or 6 quarterbacks of the all-time TD list. And Anthony, he actually was on the second on the all-time list for most yards in one season. I think he had 5,978 and 69 touchdowns in 1 year, total touchdowns. So he really had one of the great years of any quarterback in the history. So, and is it the offense? Yeah, I think it does utilize the quarterback position and puts them in a position to excel. And this kid, Anthony, he's something special. He's going to go on to Western Michigan and play football there. And I think it's a great fit for him at the MAC school there for quarterbacks because they really utilize that position very well.
And let's wrap up, and we are talking with Don Beebe tonight, the former Buffalo Bill. Let's wrap up with kind of your take on the health of high school football in America. We know it's getting bigger. I mean, national rankings, recruiting websites, and all that. But again, you've been at both levels. What do you think about the future of high school football, especially a young guy like you? You're young in there coaching these kids. It's no longer the old coach who's been there for 40 years or so. Although I've had those guys on the show. What's your take on what's good about the game now, and what can be done to make it the great game that it is and keep it going in the right direction?
Yeah, the good about the game is it's still pure. I mean, these kids are still innocent kids. They don't know any better. The ones that really, and I hate to say this, but it's the ones that screwed up a lot of times is all these media outlets that are really fantasizing these kids into what they're really probably not. Parents, I think, that are getting so wrapped up in I got to get my kid a scholarship when I think that takes away a lot of times from it's never the kid. I mean, I have not met one kid yet that was wrapped up into it. It's always everybody outside that. And I've been very fortunate to coach some great kids, and really we've had some great parents too. So I just see it through House of Speed more than I do Aurora Christian with kids that are just getting so wrapped up or the parents getting so wrapped up into getting their kid to the next level. When they are not enjoying the moment that's at hand, because these are the days that they will remember forever, and I want them to be able to understand that. So I think that it's still the purest of form. There's no question, and I think a lot of that has to do with the community, and the school, and the coach itself. But it is getting big when you see all these media outlets that are prognosticators on the talent level when they have no idea.
None.
I just laugh at these guys. They have no idea. They've missed so many kids that were so much talented and so much more talented and never got noticed. And then I've seen kids that weren't very good that were getting all kinds of write-ups. And so it's just always one person's opinion. But I think it really comes down to just reiterating a little bit here. It really comes back to the coach, the parents within the school, and the school as a community. That's what is still going to keep high school football and high school sports at its purest form.
Well, Don, we really appreciate you taking the time. Congratulations on the state championship. And I know when we talk to Gus and Phil coming up here in a little bit, I know they're going to say the same things. And these aren't cheap words. I really, appreciate people that have gone to that level and you're coming back and giving back. I think that says a whole lot about the person. Even though I've never met you, I just get that sense. So thank you for taking the time and sharing with our audience.
You bet, Jeff. And tell those guys I said hi.
I will do that. Okay, thanks a lot. That is Don Beebe, the former Buffalo Bill, and Aurora Christian, the 3A state champs in Illinois with a 34-7 win over Mount Carmel last Friday. Going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk with Phil Stambaugh. He played a year with the Jacksonville Jaguars, All-American at Lehigh University as a quarterback.
You've heard of being named All-Conference, but only one organization has earned the classification of being All-World: the United States Navy. Whether it's humanitarian efforts, fighting terrorism, or protecting America's freedoms, the Navy is the team that helps us all win big. To learn how you can make it to the big league, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. Navy, accelerate your life. The Navy Seahawk helicopter has a lift capacity of over 6,000 pounds. But when it comes to helping those around the world who need it most, they lift the hopes of millions. To learn more about how the Navy is the best place to do great things, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. It will do you and the world a load of good. Navy. Accelerate your life. The hottest technology in the world isn't being developed in Silicon Valley. In the United States Navy, more top-secret technologies are being created than ever before. Incredible machines made of stealth materials that fly by themselves. The only problem with these incredible technologies? It's a shame the enemy can't see them. To learn more, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. Navy. Accelerate your life.
And now back to High School Football America with your host, Jeff Fisher.
Thank you very much, Corey. Just a great show tonight. As we said from the top, we're going on a theme here tonight, talking about the guys that have played at the NFL level, and now they're giving back as they've come back to the roots of the game, to high school football. Just talked with Don Beebe, just won the state championship in Illinois in Class 3A at Aurora Christian, and you heard him talk about how important it is to come back and do what he's doing. And a little bit later, we're going to talk with Phil Stambaugh. He was a backup quarterback with the Jacksonville Jaguars, coaching at one of the smallest 11-man schools in the country. He's in Pennsylvania, and we've talked about him before and how they've done some wonderful things with a high-powered offense. And now time to bring in another former NFL quarterback, Gus Frerotte. You remember him as the Pro Bowler with the Washington Redskins, and this past weekend, silver medal. And I know you don't want to talk about that, Gus. You'd rather have the gold medal to talk about, but Gus Frerotte from John Burroughs High School is here to talk about it. Welcome to the show, Gus.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jeff. Yeah, it was a great game.
Yeah, it was. Now, you again, for the second year in a row, your school came down to the last minute, and in this one you dropped a 21-14 decision in the Class 3 championship game to Logan Rogersville. So tell us a little bit about what happened at the end and how close you were to changing that silver into a gold.
Well, we in the fourth quarter they were up 13-7, and then maybe with 3 minutes left or so, we take the ball down and score, so we go up 14-13. They get the ball back. It's a crucial 3rd and 8, and they try to throw one. They're not a very good throwing team, but they have a great power attack, and we had a pass interference call, so they get a first down, and the quarterback makes a great play. They run a little triple counter, and he runs around the end down the field for 40 yards. So we got about a minute and a half left in the game. We're down 21-14. We get the kickoff. We throw a couple little bubble screens, throw the ball down the middle. We'll move the ball right down the field. There's about 50 seconds left in the game. At this point, they're up 21-14. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Am I going to go for it? Am I going to win the game, or are we going to go for the tie? And we've been spreading them out. And, I get down there, and we call a zone run up the middle, and our running back gets it. They're playing a cover 2. And, just our running back, the middle linebacker made a play, just hit the ball perfectly, comes out of his hands, and they recover the ball with 50 seconds left and pretty much sealed the game up from that point.
Yeah, now that's one of your juniors, and I know you have a lot of kids coming back, next year. And this is one of the things that I love talking about. And Don and I talked about it a little while ago. Is the fact that you have such an impact on these young men now. So your junior Ezekiel Elliott is the guy that fumbled. So tell me a little bit what you've done through your experience at the highest level, and now down here trying to teach teenagers how you deal with that adversity. So how did you deal with that?
Well, I told him, we go into this game, and I say, this is just like any other game you're playing in. The field's still 100 yards. It's 3 yards wide. It's the same thing. So I know that they're going to be emotionally and physically spent after this game. And when you lose one like that, it's tough on these kids. They put their whole heart into the season, and you play 15 games, and it comes down to, a game-winning drive at the end of the season. And so I said, look, it hurts, but please use this as motivations. And my seniors were great this year. They were leaders throughout the whole year, and they basically sat there while they're crying in the locker room telling these young kids to, look, this is what you got. This is what you live for. You guys are so lucky you get to do this again and come back and play. And don't forget how this feels and work your butts off and know that what you do means something every time you do it. And so that's what we tried to relate to the kids, is that, you have to take every chance, every opportunity you get, and you have to get the most out of it. And I think our kids just grew up so much this year, and it was really fun to watch them.
It was your first year, 13-2, second place finish in Class 3. We're talking with Gus Frerotte of John Burroughs High School. Let's talk about some of those kids by name that really made the difference and got you guys back to the championship game. Who are some of the kids that stood out in your mind this year?
Well, we only had 8 seniors. 2 seniors basically were injured all year and never really played. Another senior didn't, he wasn't on much of the team. And then we had 5 seniors who did these guys held the team together. They were the glue for the puzzle, that we were building throughout the year. Bear Kamner, who is probably our biggest leader and was there from the beginning. He's our smallest offensive lineman, and he's one of our linebackers. And he's lucky enough where he's going to be going on to play football at Amherst. And this guy is he did everything I asked of him this year and led the team. And another linebacker, Sam Heffler, led our team in solo tackles, and just, you're talking about a kid that's 5'7", 170 pounds, and he's just a bulldog out there and making all the plays. Nathan Adams, who's another kid, he's a baseball player, but he came up and stepped up and had a great year, had some huge catches. He's a little receiver for us. He's going on to Yale to play baseball, and Stephen Trulask, another guy. These guys just stepped up and made huge plays. And, we have some underclassmen that are going to be big-time players. Ezekiel Elliott, who we've already talked about, just has all the ability in the world. He's a state track champion, and we call him our horse. We give him the ball, and he does great things with it. Another kid, Foye Alucon, just is a kid that's growing and growing every year. Oh, and I forgot to mention that the biggest piece of our puzzle was our starting quarterback, our senior, who really never played quarterback before, threw 32 touchdowns this year, had 400 yards rushing, and just had an outstanding year. And one of the kids, he didn't make captain at the beginning of the year, never let that hurt him. He just kept going, the first one out in the field, always throwing a football. So those kids are some of the kids that really came through and made it a great year for us.
Tell me a little bit about your enjoyment of the first year. Now, you've been here before this as an assistant, but what was it like as a head coach? I mean, again, you've been there and you've had some of the great coaches telling you how to do it when you're in the NFL. What was it like going through this first year, and what did you learn about yourself?
No, it was just a great experience. I know that I get emotionally involved. That's one thing I know is when I give speeches, if it means something, I'm not a guy that's going to hold back. If I got to cry, I cry. The kids love it. They respond to it just because football's my life, and it means something to me and my family, and I let all the kids see how important it is to me. And then, the experience I had of calling plays, that's what I really enjoyed the most, I think, was being able to do something at the beginning of a week, watching the film and saying, here's how we're going to attack this defense, and going out and watching our kids work hard and put those plays in all week and be able to go out in a game and execute them. And, also being able to draw plays up on the sideline, saying, here's where they're weak, here's what we can get on them, and our kids going out and doing it. It was a lot of fun.
I was just at, we're going to talk to Phil Stambaugh in a little bit, but I was at his practice today, and as I mentioned, they were in a quarterfinal matchup, and he was out there pretty much drawing up something in the dirt because the field is dirt at this point. And I said to him after the game, after practice, I said, it took me back to Sandlot. He goes, I just really believe that this game never ever changes, no matter how high you go or how low you go. It's still all about that initial love, and I think that's coming through. It came through in Don's voice. I hear it in yours, so that's a great thing. So let's talk about the season ahead for you now. You had the disappointment, but you said the kids are already in the weight room, so you're cranking for 2012.
Oh yeah, I think the kids are cranking for 2012. I'm on to JV basketball, so I got to coach that now. But the kids, it was amazing after practice tonight. Most of our football players go on and play other sports. A handful don't do anything in the winter, so they're lifting already. But after JV basketball, there were 3 of our sophomores who quit, didn't quit, but after basketball practice was over, they went and found our weight coach, and they wanted to go get some extra weightlifting in. So I think it means something. I think the season really caught on, and the excitement really caught on for our school and the kids, and and bringing in a new strength coach, changing the whole program around. And it's really exciting to see these kids go out and, do something that you've loved your whole life and taking it on for them and being able to go play the sport and continue to play the sport.
So put it in perspective. I asked Don Beebe this question. I'll ask you the same thing. I asked Don, the state championship versus playing in the Super Bowl and all that. Getting to that state championship game as a head coach in your first year versus what you experienced in the NFL. Can you put the two together and say, here's the great and this is better or that one's better? Can you do that?
Well, I think as a coach, you're obviously calling plays, but you're not out there doing it. I think as a player, it's better. I mean, you're out there competing. You're out there, sweat and blood and pain and fear, and you have all those emotions going through you. When you're on the sidelines, you get a little nervous. For me, it was strange because you get a little nervous about, am I calling the right play? Am I putting the kids in the right position? Are we doing the right thing? And, did we work out too much this week? Did we not hit enough? There's all kind of those little things. But I think there's nothing better than being out in the football field and playing with 10 of your friends and going to battle and coming out victorious. I mean, I think that's the real winner. I mean, for me as a coach, I enjoy it. I love putting the kids in the position and knowing my body can't do any of that stuff anymore. That's kind of where I am right now, and I really enjoy this part of the game for me. But I think the player it's much more fun.
Can never take the player out of the person, that's for sure. Well, Gus, congratulations on a great year, and I always appreciate you taking the time to talk to our listeners and educating them on the difference and the nuances and what you're doing and giving back. And I do applaud you for giving back to these young men that will really be able to benefit by having you there on the sidelines with them. So congratulations and best of luck next year.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. My father-in-law led me to this, so. He coached me in high school. He coached football in Western Pennsylvania for 42 years. So he instilled a lot of things I love to teach these kids. So it's nice to be able to hand it down again.
Now, like I said the last time we talked, it's always good to, since I'm a Pennsylvania boy, to go back to the roots. I think we play some pretty darn good football here, so it's always good to talk to a Keystone Stater. So best of luck next year, and thanks a lot, Coach.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Yep. Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome. That is Gus Frerotte, head coach of John Burroughs. They finished second in Class 3 in Missouri this past weekend. Gus's first year, and just a great all-around season, 13-2 for them. Going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some other championship games that are coming up this weekend. A big one in New Jersey, an even bigger one in Alabama and Kentucky. Those stories and more when we come back. This is High School Football America on the Artist First Radio Network.
The hottest technology in the world isn't being developed in Silicon Valley. In the United States Navy, more top-secret technologies are being created than ever before. Incredible machines made of stealth materials that fly by themselves. The only problem with these incredible technologies? It's a shame the enemy can't see them. To learn more, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. Navy, accelerate your life.
The major record labels say that downloading music from the internet is stealing. But according to these people, making a mixtape for your friend is stealing too. So is making a tape of a radio show.
Clone Radio. We play the songs that sound more like everyone else than anyone else.
When a rock band plays an AC/DC cover at a bar that doesn't pay ASCAP, that's stealing. Or have you ever sung Happy Birthday to your friend at a restaurant?
Warning!
Happy Birthday is copyrighted, so if you're singing in a public place, you'd better be paying royalties, or you'll be stealing music.
Man down!
Does all this stuff about stealing music sound absurd? Would you rather have a world where our music culture wasn't the intellectual property of 5 corporations? Then stop giving them your money, and make sure your friends and family don't either. Better yet, try burning them a CD. If we pull the plug on major labels, music gets better. Find out more about what you can do. Check out downhillbattle.org.
And now back to the show with your host, Jeff Fisher.
Thank you very much, Corey. What a great show so far, and still more to come. Phil Stambaugh, a backup quarterback with the Jacksonville Jaguars, will be joining us in about 12 minutes. We have already spoken with a couple of NFLers now coaching at the high school level. We spoke with Don Beebe, the former Buffalo Bill, who just led Aurora Christian to Illinois' 3A state championship. And just a few moments ago, Gus Frerotte of John Burroughs High School in Missouri. His team just, he fumbled at the goal line, or his team fumbled at the goal line. Otherwise, they would have gone for a tie and possibly overtime, and John Burroughs finishes second in Class 3 in Missouri. So congratulations to those two guys, and looking forward to talking to Phil Stambaugh, a good friend of mine who is cultivating one of Pennsylvania's best quarterbacks, and maybe before it's all said and done, he will be the best. A young man, A.J. Long, who is a sophomore, who has already passed for over 6,000 yards in his career, and they're in the state quarterfinals, so he may have 3 more games this year to add to that incredible 2-year total. I want to remind you that NCSA Athletic Recruiting is a main sponsor here for us at High School Football America. Now, how do you find and get playing at a school, a college that fits your athletic and academic abilities? Well, NCSA Athletic Recruiting works with all 800 college football programs. They all are looking for different types of players, wanting different measurables and grades and test scores, and NCSA knows which college coaches and what they're looking for. If you are qualified, NCSA can match you with all of the schools that need players like you. Now, to learn more, just go to ncsasports.org, or you can go to highschoolfootballamerica.com, and on the front page there, you'll see their little ad there. Just click on that. We'll take you directly to the website. You can get a free player profile, and it's just a great organization. I highly recommend them. They are a partner that, in my estimation, has the kids' best interest at heart. There's a lot of different organizations out there doing this, and I believe they are one of the best in the country, so please go check them out at NCSA Athletic Recruiting. Now, before we went to break, I mentioned that there's a lot of big football games this weekend, championship trophies being handed out in several major states, and maybe the game of the week, and I know Max Preps has got this one as the game of the week. Steve Spiewak will probably be on next week talking about the final 2 weekends of the season. But the big one in Bama in 6A, Hoover taking on Prattville. These two teams, they know each other real well. It's the 4th straight year that Hoover's playing for a championship, and the 10th time since 2001. Prattville in the state title game for the 6th time in 8 years. It's the 5th time since 2004 that these two have met in the final round. They split the previous 4 meetings, Hoover winning in 2004 and 2009, Prattville capturing the title in 2006 and 2008. So should be a good one down in Alabama, Hoover and Prattville. Now, another big one in Oklahoma, Union, a team that actually this year had an upset midway through the season, and many thought, well, maybe Union wasn't going to be back going for its 4th consecutive 6A title. Well, guess again, folks, the Redskins, a very, very good program, and they will take on Union Broken Arrow for their 4th consecutive 6A title, and it's 7th since 2002. The Redskins have won 7 straight since losing to Owasso, that game I was talking about back on October the 7th, 41-38. So that championship game being played tonight in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Union versus Broken Arrow. Now, another big game, especially when it comes to the national championship chase. Don Bosco Prep, and you've heard Steve Spiewak talk about Bosco for several shows this year. They're number 1. They started the year there, and this weekend on Friday night, tomorrow night at MetLife Stadium, they will be going for the 9 public Group 4 final championship. They're taking on Bergen Catholic, their arch rival. Bosco is undefeated, Bergen Prep 8-2, and in their first title game since 2004. But out of all the teams that have played Bosco this year, Bergen Catholic during the regular season really gave them a tussle when they played back on September the 30th. In the end, Bosco came out on top with a 33-22 win, but in that game, Bergen Catholic led it through three quarters, so that will be an interesting matchup in New Jersey. If Bosco slips up, you got a couple of teams right behind waiting to get a shot at that national championship, that mythical national championship, according to Max Preps. You have Trinity from Kentucky playing in the 6A championship game. They have played probably the toughest schedule in the country, and they've run the table looking for one more, and then sitting behind them at number 3 is Gaffney out of South Carolina. We spoke to Dan Jones earlier this year, as we did with all of the top 3 coaches, and Gaffney is taking on Burns, the other tough program there in South Carolina, for the South Carolina Championship. So a lot of things can happen this weekend that will affect the national championship chase. Going to take a break here on High School Football America. When we come back, we are going to talk with Phil Stambaugh, the head coach at Pius X High School in Roseto, Pennsylvania. Phil is our third former NFLer on the show tonight. Phil played backup quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was an All-American at Lehigh University, and right now he has got a high-powered offensive attack averaging 44 points a game, and they have their eyes set on the school's first ever state championship. They're in the smallest classification in Pennsylvania because they're one of the smallest schools in Pennsylvania, and Phil Stambaugh is going to come along and talk about the program and their big game tomorrow night against Southern Columbia, a 1A power in Pennsylvania. They at one point had won 5 straight state championships, and we're going to talk to Phil when we come back. This is High School Football America on the Artist First Radio Network.
When tornadoes raked the South, it was ham radio that was on the air, saving lives. As communities lay in ruins, it was the hams who let their families know their loved ones were safe. When the power and cell phones went out, the hams were there, helping rescuers get the message through. Wherever catastrophes strike, amateur radio is ready. Amateur radio works when other communications don't. Contact the ARRL, the National Association for Amateur Radio, on the web at emergencyradio.org. That's emergencyradio.org.
Do not adjust your radio frequency. This is not a test. This is the Artist First Network. Cool.
Welcome to the Artist First Network, a weekly program featuring the best independent artists anywhere.
Damn it, get the hell out of my kitchen.
You just hit the Artist First Network. Now you're going to jail for assault.
This is the Artist First Network, the network of independent artists. Each week, the Artist First Network brings you the newest and brightest of independent and undiscovered artists.
Hi, the latest project was recorded. I can get through this. Can we keep it rolling?
Hi, this is Big Daddy and the Generator. This next cut is called Baby You're So Hot. Cut. Damn it. Damn it, Jim. Alright, here, give me another crack at that one. Quit laughing at me.
Where's the web? I told you. www.artistfirst.com.
Welcome to the Artist First Network.
And now back to High School Football America with your host, Jeff Fisher.
Thank you very much, Corey. What a great show. If you missed any of it, it will be up in the archives later on this week. We've had 2 former NFLers on the show, and we're going to make it 3 right here. We've already spoken with Don Beebe, who was the head coach, or is the head coach at Aurora Christian in Illinois. They just won the 3A state championship last weekend, and after that we spoke with Gus Frerotte, the former Redskin, who led John Burroughs to a runner-up finish in Class 3 in Missouri. And now time to bring in a good friend. He's been on the show before. He's a former quarterback with the Jacksonville Jaguars, was one of Lehigh's all-time great quarterbacks, and he is running a high-powered offense for the Pius X Royals in Roseto, Pennsylvania, and they are getting ready for a showdown tomorrow night in Pennsylvania's 1A classification against Southern Columbia, a team that won at one point 5 straight state titles, and Phil Stambaugh is here to talk about his team this year and the big game tomorrow night. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely, and I know you real well. Like I was telling the listeners earlier, I was out at your practice field watching you still trying to dial it in for tomorrow night. So let's kind of dive right into the situation you have before you, because Pius X and Southern Columbia, this is a couple of schools that, don't really like each other. You got some history on the gridiron, so let's kind of inform the listeners about the history between these two schools.
Well, they should like us. They beat us every time they played us so far. But we've played them 3 times in the state playoffs, and they've been some battles. And we feel as though tomorrow night's going to be the same way. We're trying to make sure that we've prepared to stop their offense. They've earned the respect of their program by their state titles, and we're trying to knock them off. And we have an offense that we think is going to give them some fits, and we have to make our stuff work.
Well, and that's one of the things that both Don and Gus talked about earlier with their experience at the NFL level and playing in some high-powered offenses, how it's helped them kind of adapt on the high school level. You've done that with your sophomore, A.J. Long, and I mentioned to the listeners earlier, I think he's over 6,300 yards in his career. He's only a sophomore. Tell us a little bit about your approach to offense, even though, you're at the high school level and one of the smallest classifications. You played at the other level. So how much of a meld is there between the big level you played at and where you are now?
Well, I try to take pieces from my experiences, from the pro level and from the college level, and just try and make it, to give our kids the best opportunity to be successful. Just trying to, spread the other team out and kind of confuse them a little bit, and so we can have the best chance to get in those lanes and to make the catches and allow our athletes to be successful and put points on the board. AJ is developed tremendously into his sophomore year. The numbers he's putting up are outstanding. He's thrown for more yards in 2 years than I did in my whole career, and I'm extremely proud of his effort. And the kids around him making plays: Boise Ross, Matt Camilletti, Nick DeRay, Drake Freeman. We've had some guys putting up tremendous numbers this year, and we're really expecting that to continue tomorrow night.
I think the thing that hops out off of the stat sheet is the balance. You guys are closing in, or you may be at 5,000 total offense, but the running game's there too. You're not just throwing the ball around, for 5,000 yards. You're I wouldn't say it's 50-50, but it's close. So how do you work that together? Does the pass truly set up the run in your system?
Jeff, I think we're best when we're balanced. I think we're the best when more than one person is touching the ball consistently, and it makes it that much more difficult for defenses to defend us. So, that is in our game plan, for the pass to set up the run, and, for us to, spread people out and then, gash them with some draws and some counters, and, that's important for us to be balanced. And we try and work towards that, and, the way we set people up is, ultimately to make it difficult for them to defend.
That's right. The more people you got to worry about, the harder it is to stop. And one of the other stats that jumped off is the number of receivers that have touched the ball this year, and I think all but one they're over 10 yards per catch, which is amazing. So let's talk a little bit about AJ. We've mentioned him on the show before, a sophomore. Before it's all said and done, it's hard to extrapolate numbers, but he can shatter Pennsylvania's passing records. So how good is he, and where's the biggest difference between him last year as a freshman that got you to a district championship game, now to a sophomore who's in the quarterfinals?
AJ's worked tremendously hard in the off season. He worked in the weight room to build up his body. He went to camps. He traveled to underclassmen combines. He put in the work to become the best, and that's what he wants to be. He wants to be the best, and he relies on his teammates, to make plays during the game. And I preach to him to make smart decisions. He's going to be the best in Pennsylvania because he has the work ethic to get there, and he will shatter all those records, and he'll get the recognition, and I definitely see him, ending up in a top 1A program somewhere, and I think whoever gets him eventually, in the next couple of years is really going to have a prized kid there, a leader, a good kid, and somebody that's going to work tremendously hard to make the program successful.
talking with Phil Stambaugh, the head coach at Pius X High School in Roseto, Pennsylvania. I've mentioned it on the show throughout the season, doing a documentary on him over the last 2 years, and really have gone inside this tiny little school that is truly one of the smallest 11-man programs in the nation, and they're doing some wonderful things. A chance at their first state championship. And I asked Don and Gus this question. I want to ask it to you, too. Having played at the levels you played in NCAA, big games in the playoffs and all that, can you put into words what it's like as a very, very, what's the word I'm looking for when it came to a player? You were a gamer. You went out there and got it done. What's the difference between being that gamer that got it done on the field and now being on the sidelines there and calling the plays and trying to get these kids in a position to win?
I did. I was a fierce competitor, and, I always wanted to win, and now I have to find another channel to do that. And I can't go out in the field anymore, and, I don't make tackles and I don't throw passes anymore, but I try and give our kids every opportunity. So I work extra hard, in my off-season preparation in the weeks leading up to the games, and I just try and put the extra time in so I can make our game plan the best possible. I try and get with the defensive coaches to give them the insight that I see off of the films, and just to give us every opportunity to be successful. And I think the kids appreciate that. They know where I've come from, and I relate to them on a bunch of different levels as a player, as a competitor, and, hopefully as a leader. And, we've done well. We've done much better now in my second year as head coach, and I feel as though that they understand the plan that I have for the team, and, now it just comes down to them executing.
And we'll wrap up with this question, which is, there more and more former, NFLers are coming back to the high school ranks. I think at last count, there's maybe 15 guys that have become head coaches in the high school game. Why do you think that's happening more so than it maybe did before?
I think guys want to give back. I think they see themselves in these younger players, and now it's the NFL game and the college game have trickled down into high school, and there's more going on at that level, and I think those are good people to have in those spots. I enjoy working with the kids. It's rewarding for me to see the potential that they have, and as they're approaching college, and I just hope that I'm pointing them in the right direction and using the experience that I had and translating it into them, so they could have the advantages that I didn't have, coming up through, and I think that they'll really benefit from the knowledge that the guys that are coming, the professional guys that are coming back, can give to them.
So, knowing you like I do, you got this big game in the quarterfinals against Southern Columbia team that you've been gunning for since you got the head coaching position, and before that. How much sleep are you going to get tonight? I probably sleep pretty good. I've worked pretty hard this week and all season long building up to this, and we've been ready for this game for a while. Last time we played them was 7 years ago, and there's still a bitter taste in my mouth. So, I'm gonna go home and work and try and get as much rest as I can and get prepared for a big win tomorrow night. All right. Well, Phil, we really appreciate you taking the time tonight, and good luck. And I'll see you out there tomorrow night.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jeff. Take care.
You're welcome. That is Phil Stambaugh, the head coach at Pius X in Pennsylvania, going into the Class 1A quarterfinals tomorrow night against a very good program, one of the best 1A programs in Pennsylvania for a long time, Southern Columbia, and I'll be at that. We'll have some highlights up on the website, highschoolfootballamerica.com, on Saturday. Going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to wrap things up on this very special night. 3 former NFLers on the show to talk about what it's like to be a head coach at the high school level. That and more when we come back. This is High School Football America on the Artist First Radio Network.
You've heard of being named All-Conference, but only one organization has earned the classification of being All-World: the United States Navy. Whether it's humanitarian efforts, fighting terrorism, or protecting America's freedoms, the Navy is the team that helps us all win big. To learn how you could make it to the big league, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. Navy, accelerate your life.
And now back to High School Football America with your host, Jeff Fisher.
Thank you very much, Corey. Like I said just before the break, very special show here, I believe, tonight. Not because these guys are, former NFL players. It's always great to speak to those guys, but it's because they've come back down to the high school level and are giving back and really creating some wonderful programs on the show tonight. I want to thank Don Beebe, who won the Illinois 3A state championship last weekend at Aurora Christian, former Buffalo Bill, and the Green Bay Packers played in Super Bowls, and you heard him say earlier that he was still on cloud nine, and maybe the Illinois State Championship was much more fun than playing in the Super Bowl, and much more important. Also want to thank Gus Frerotte. We've had him on a couple of shows, and Gus is now the first year, or going to the second year, I guess, at this point, head coach at John Burroughs High School in Missouri, a former Western Pennsylvania standout who went to Tulsa, played in the Pro Bowl with the Washington Redskins, and led John Burroughs to a runner-up finish in Class 3. They were real close to getting into overtime and a real closer shot at that gold medal, but they ended up losing on a fumble at the goal line toward the end of the ball game. They lost by a touchdown. And I want to thank my good friend Phil Stambaugh, the head coach at Pius X High School in Bangor, Pennsylvania. Phil, a quarterback with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He did a great job at Lehigh. He's also played in NFL Europe and amassed some great numbers, and he's building a real good quarterback. Only a sophomore, A.J. Long. Keep an eye on this kid. If things keep going the way they're going for him, if he gets 3 more games this year and can make it deep into the playoffs his last 2 years and stay injury-free, he will shatter every Pennsylvania record that's out there. He's already thrown for over 6,300 yards. He's completing 69% of his passes this year. He's thrown for 3,300 yards, and oh, by the way, he's only about 180 yards away from running for 1,000 yards this year, and he's a kid that's getting some looks at the Division 1A level, and he's still got 2 more years to go, and I'm sure that list of people looking at him will grow longer and longer. I want to thank our sponsors for tonight's show, NCSA Athletic Recruiting. How do you find a school that has the academic scholarship that you want along with the athletic scholarship? Well, NCSA Athletic Recruiting can get it done for you. They work with all 800 college football programs. Yeah, not just the big ones. They go all the way down to Division III, and they just do a phenomenal job of helping young athletes and their parents kind of sort through the clutter that's out there. And believe me, there's a lot of clutter when it comes to athletic scholarships and finding the right fit for your child. You can go on to highschoolfootballamerica.com and click on the icon for NCSA Athletic Recruiting, and you can fill out a free scouting report for your athlete and learn more about what they do to help your son get into a football program. And I should mention, too, because we don't just have football listeners on this, they do it for all sports. So, if it's baseball or basketball, they are there to help in whatever way they can. Also want to thank Blitz Group for with all of its media strategy throughout the week. Go to blitzgroupllc.com. And the High School Rudy Awards, honoring inspirational high school football players who best define the 4 C's: character, courage, contribution, and commitment. Go to highschoolrudyawards.com to nominate a player. I want to thank Corey back in Ohio for making sure the show ran smoothly. And boy, at the beginning of the day, we thought we were going to have some bumps, but Corey made it real smooth and got us through the night. And I want to thank you, the listeners, for tuning in. Remember, only 2 more weeks left to the regular season, the entire season. After this weekend, some big championship games. Come back to highschoolfootballamerica.com to keep up with the scores throughout the weekend. And I will talk to you next week when we take a look at the last remaining championship games to be played. Again, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week. I'm Jeff Fisher, and this has been High School Football America on the Artist First Radio Network.